When talking about climate change, the left likes to claim that 97% of scientists support the concept of man-made climate change. Indeed, President Obama famously tweeted this figure to the world in 2014, giving it worldwide legitimacy. Given the left's tendency to manipulate and deceive at every turn, I decided to investigate the origins of this claim. Here is what I discovered. There are three surveys that are commonly referred to when referencing this figure. All these surveys combined supposedly provide conclusive proof that proves beyond doubt mankind is responsible. Well, let's look at these surveys. One frequently cited source is a 2004 opinion essay published in Science magazine by Naomi Oreskes, a science historian now at Harvard. She claimed to have examined abstracts of 928 articles published in scientific journals between 1993 and 2003. And found that 75% supported the view that human activity was responsible for most of the observed warming over the previous 50 years. Now, it is widely agreed that the release of greenhouse gases will have a marginal impact on the planet's climate, but there is absolutely no consensus to suggest that this increase would be dangerous or have a dramatic impact. This survey deliberately focused on the term man-made and left out the term dangerous. This methodology was deemed totally flawed in a study published in Nature magazine that noted that the abstracts of academic papers often contain claims that aren't substantiated in the papers. Additionally, it was also noted that scores of articles by prominent scientists who denied a man-made link were deliberately left out of the survey. The end result is, of course, that this paper cannot be taken seriously. Another widely cited source for the consensus view is a 2009 article by Maggie Kendall Zimmerman. Zimmerman was doing her master's at the University of Illinois under the supervision of Peter Doran. Two online surveys were sent out to 10,257 scientists asking them two questions. 1. When compared with pre-1800 levels, do you think that the mean global temperatures have generally risen, fallen, or remained relatively constant? Number 2. Do you think human activity is a significant contributing factor in changing mean global temperatures? Only 3,146 actually completed the survey, which is a 30.7% response rate. So there is no way they could honestly claim they had a consensus of scientific opinion. However, the level of deceit goes much deeper than this. Of the 3,146 people that responded, 79 of the participants self-identified as a climate scientist, and 77 of the 79 said yes to question 2. 77 of 79 just so happens to be 97%. So they ignored all the other participants and published that 97% of climate change scientists agreed that global temperatures had risen and that humans are a significant contributing factor. So effectively, they claimed they had conducted a survey of 10,257 scientists, and 97% of the climate change scientists agreed that mankind had contributed to rising temperatures. What they didn't mention was that this number was only derived from 79 participants, and even then they did not support the notion that the human impact was large enough to constitute a problem. The third and final source was published in 2013 by John Cook, an Australian-based blogger and research assistant professor at the Centre for Climate Change Communication for George Mason University. He peer-reviewed 11,944 papers published from 1991 to 2011 on climate change. He reported that 97% of those who stated a position explicitly or implicitly suggested that human activity is responsible for some warming. His findings were eagerly published in the Environmental Research Letters journal. However, only a few months later his findings were quickly debunked in the Science and Education journal in August 2013. David Legatus, a professor of geography at the University of Delaware and former director of its Centre for Climatic Research, along with 3 co-authors, reviewed the same papers as did Mr. Cook and found only 41 papers, or 0.3% of all 11,944 abstracts, had endorsed the claim human activity is causing most of the current warming. The figure could rise to 1% if you focus only on the 4,014 that express an opinion on the matter. This of course is a far cry from the 97.1% that had been alleged. Clearly what we are seeing here is the sneaky and dishonest work of activists who are deliberately deceiving the public and who are further facilitated by politicians that are quoting from these completely unscientific reports to create a sense of panic. However, on the opposite side of the spectrum, surveys of meteorologists, the very people who are focused on climate change, repeatedly find a majority oppose the alleged consensus. Only 39.5% of 1,854 meteorologists who responded to a survey in 2012 said man-made global warming is dangerous. Another survey of 1,800 scientists was conducted by BPL Netherlands Environmental Assessment Agency in 2015 and found that only 43% of scientists believed in man-made climate change, which is a far cry from 97%. Last but not least, NASA only recently released a statement saying they have known for over 60 years that climate change comes about because of the Earth's solar orbit and not from the release of carbon into the atmosphere. So there it is in the full light of day. 97% of climate change scientists have never supported the notion that climate change is man-made and is dangerous. Two of the research papers just focus on the abstracts of papers, and the one survey that actually resulted in real people being asked their opinion were gerrymandered and focused on only 79 from an initial survey of over 10,000 scientists. This is intellectual dishonesty on a grand scale. However, what this shows is how manipulative and deceitful the left actually are. The more I find out about the left, the more I realise they are outright liars and deceivers, bordering on the pathological, and this climate change hoax is one of the greatest deceptions ever orchestrated in world history. The really concerning thing, however, is that the media, the so-called guardians of democracy, have went out of their way to facilitate this hoax despite this information being freely available for everyone to fact check. There is no greater evidence that the media are now activists, and what they are activating is deception on a grand scale. Well, there you have it. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to make another video on the other deception on this topic. The temperature is rising faster since records began scam, so be sure to check that out at the end of the week. Thanks for watching, share, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment. It really helps the channel out immensely.